during the surgery. Question is, certainly one of the notes said can be repaired at the same time. Doesn't say that it was repaired at the same time. It seems to suggest that it was in his thoughts ahead of time that he was going to do that. And isn't that a factual question?
Your Honor, I respectfully disagree in the sense that his preoperative awareness of the hernia really is a red herring here and doesn't negate our expert's opinion that by the time they got to the surgery, that's when he made that decision. The idea that it may be repaired or anything, that doesn't indicate that he definitely intended to do this going in. And if you even look at the operative report, I know the plaintiff makes an issue out of that, saying that there's an indication for the procedure there regarding the hernia. And I would submit that that can't possibly raise a question of fact because you can't get in the doctor's, the plaintiff's expert can't get in the doctor's head about what that meant on that report. And in any event, to the extent the court would lend credence to the plaintiff's position regarding the informed consent issue, that Dr. Lamb will have at least raised a question of fact in opposition to the plaintiff's cross motion on informed consent, given, as Your Honor points out, his testimony that he, in fact, did not intend to perform it preoperatively, because if he had, it would have been in the consent form.
Okay.
Unless Your Honor has any other questions, I'll rest on my papers. Thank you.
Morning, Counselor.
Your Honor, Justice Nimoy, you brought a good point up about the foreknowledge that there was this hernia, in fact, 2 of them. But in addition to that, there was a fore-intent. Because when he wrote the preoperative report, he specifically wrote that there's a small umbilical hernia that can be fixed at the same time.
That doesn't indicate that he intended to fix it during the prostate surgery.
Well, it does indicate that he can fix it at the same time.
Right.
And we know this, is that during the surgery, he chose to put the incision right where the hernia was, then uses the fact that I put an incision near the hernia as a reason to repair the hernia. Now, with regard to that decision to put the incision right near the hernia, that was a decision that he made himself when other ports of entry could easily be chosen. He chose to extend the incision into the hernia. Again, a choice, knowing where the hernia is, he is creating the very thing he then uses to justify the surgery.
His intent on the motion. Clearly, he testified in his deposition, I did not intend to repair the hernia.
Well, it's contradicted.
Some of the records suggest maybe he did, maybe he didn't. His expert says because the incision was extended, because the removal was more involved, more complicated, the hernia was, who knows? But it seems it raises a question as to whether it was necessary to do it in light of, clearly nobody's arguing he needed the prostatectomy.
Well, in this case, he has an unnecessary hernia repair because it was asymptomatic. He is doing the hernia repair by choosing to where to put the incision right near the existing hernia, which he had a foreknowledge of. He says in advance of the surgery, I can repair it during the surgery. Immediately after the surgery, the nurse who was part of the surgery...
I'm not saying your position doesn't have merit to it. What I'm saying is I'm not sure we can, as a matter of law, get into the doctor's mind and say he knew ahead of time and he failed to get informed consent.
Well, can we get it from the fact that he, in his own preoperative note, specifically references doing the repair? And also, one of the big arguments that was being made is that this is one continuous series of events. I had to do the repair as part of the original surgery. If that were the case, it should have been one bill. Here, he billed for 2 separate procedures, $4,000 for the prostatectomy and $1,000 for the hernia repair. That tells you that he himself viewed them as 2 separate procedures, whereas he had argued, hey, it was just one procedure. I had to sew this up as part of it, which is clearly not the case, because if it was part of it, he would have billed it simply as one procedure.
I'm not sure that's how billing works when